We're given this function f of x. We'd like its first two derivatives evaluated at pi. F prime of pi and f double prime of pi. We'll add those together. Okay, if we want to do this, we'll need the derivatives. So the first derivative, f prime of x, let's take the derivative of this. X cosine x, that's a product. We'll need to use the product rule here. The derivative of the first function, the derivative of x, that's 1, times the second function, times cosine x. Product rule says plus in the middle. Copy the first function, copy the x, multiply by the derivative of the second. The derivative of cosine x, that's minus sine x. The derivative of a co is always negative. Then we still have minus the derivative of sine. The derivative of sine is cosine. So this is minus 1 cosine x. Oh hey, that's pretty nice because we've got a plus cosine x minus a cosine x canceling out. We have a simplified first derivative here. Often a good idea to simplify if you can. Minus x sine x. There's our first derivative. If we want, we could plug in pi right now. We know we want f prime of pi. So this would just be minus pi sine pi. And we know from the unit circle, sine of pi is 0. So not very exciting here. Our first derivative at pi is 0. Now to complete the question, we still need that second derivative, f double prime, the derivative of the first derivative. Be very careful you do it of the original first derivative, the minus x sine x. We don't want to take the derivative of the pi sine of pi. That was a constant. The derivative of any constant is 0. So this is a good rule of thumb. Anytime you're taking multiple derivatives, take the derivative of the function, not the evaluated function. So let's do that. Again, we have a product rule between minus x and sine x. The product rule says we take the derivative of the first function. The derivative of minus x is minus 1 times the second times the sine. Product rule says plus. Copy the first function, copy the minus x. The derivative of the second, the derivative of sine is cosine x. There's our second derivative. We wanted it at pi. Let's plug pi in here. Everywhere we see an x, this would be minus sine of pi. Hey, we already know what that's going to be. Then we have a minus pi cosine of pi. So again, sine of pi, that's 0. Cosine of pi is negative 1. So this second term here, minus pi cosine pi, that's like minus pi times minus 1. I believe this will just be 1 pi. So what was that original question? The original question, what's f prime of pi plus f double prime of pi? We found that to be 0 plus pi, or simply 1 pi as our final answer. We had to remember our trig derivatives along with the product rule. It just came down to taking the derivative twice.